Hey, welcome back to RM Podcast FL. This is your favorite podcaster, Romina. I hope everybody's having a great and amazing day so far. And if your day just got started, well, I hope you have an amazing day. If your day is about to finish, well, guess what? Have an amazing night. I'm very excited about today's episode, you guys. But before I do jump right to the episode, I just want to take a moment and thank everybody that has reached out so far through LinkedIn or through Instagram and giving me props up and encouraging me to continue with the podcast. I know it's a lot of time. I know it's time consuming on my end, but I'm actually loving this. I get to meet professionals of different careers and have quality conversations with them and learn. I mean, this is amazing, you guys. These people should be charging me for having these consultations, but they don't. So there's another trick, you guys. If you want to have quality conversations, bring something to the table for them, and then you exchange knowledge. So there you go. That's another secret. Well, today's episode, we're going to focus on marketing. We've seen marketing change literally every single day, especially with the technology nowadays. So today's guest, I would say he is an expert on marketing, which he is with 25 years of experience. Howard Wolpoff is a marketing strategist, and he has helped hundreds of businesses create profitable solutions to drive sales, attract and maintain customers, and build social corporate brands. He has helped launch 3 successful businesses, you guys. Piers Sports and Entertainment, the Brooklyn Cyclones minor league baseball team, and gridironnow.com, the premier site for SEC football, and serves as an executive at 2 advertising and marketing agencies. You can find a lot more information about Howard at findnewrevenues.com. Again, that is findnewrevenues.com. I'm super excited about this one as I actually got to learn a lot more about marketing myself. That is one area that I'm very passionate about when it comes to marketing and sales. As you know, guys, I'm a sales consultant, and that is one area that I want to focus on. So it's really interesting to actually see somebody changing their strategies from 25 years ago to today, and how some companies actually, unfortunately, are losing revenue because they're not up to date. They're still using old techniques to bring in the table new revenues, which unfortunately you have to adopt to the technology. You have to adopt to the customer. So with Howard, we're going to break down every single detail for you guys. I hope you guys enjoy it, and definitely take a moment, and if you have to re-listen to this episode, absolutely do so, because he does talk about some really great points, you guys. If you do need to reach out to him, go ahead and do so at findnewrevenues.com. Tell them Romina sent you. And as always, you can find RM Podcast FL on iTunes, Spotify, Stitchers Radio, YouTube, Podbean, iHeartRadio, and www.rmpodcastfl.com. I mean, you literally, guys, have 8 different platforms, so choose your favorite. And don't forget, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your coworkers, tell everybody that you know about my podcast. Thank you, guys. Let's jump right into the interview. Welcome back to RM Podcast FL, guys, and thank you for investing your time to this episode. Like I did mention on the intro, today's guest is Howard Wolpoff. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well today.
Awesome.
How are you?
Good. I said your last name right, correct?
You did.
Okay, cool, because my accent always comes out and I pronounce stuff weird sometimes.
It was perfect.
So I'm very interested and really excited about this interview. I know you're into marketing and to sales, so that's an area that I'm passionate about too, so I feel like we're going to cover some great points.
Okay.
First and foremost, I'll pass the mic to you if you want to introduce yourself and tell us your life journey, young you to today.
Okay. My name is Howard Wolpoff. I'm a marketing strategist and business coach. Let's see, I grew up in the Bronx in New York. I lived in New York most of my entire life until moving here to Jacksonville in 2007. Had some really great experiences business-wise in New York, where I was part of 2 business launches there. One was called the Piers Sports and Entertainment Complex.
Okay.
I was involved with creating sports venues indoor in a historic pier off the West Side Highway on the Hudson River. It was the destination for both the Titanic and the Lusitania, and it got into disrepair, and there was a need to replace two indoor ice rinks, and from that became designed for outdoor roller rinks, indoor ice rinks, gymnastics, a big gym, state-of-the-art sports facility, a golf driving range. So it became this incredible experience setting those businesses up. I also was part of the launch of the Brooklyn Cyclones, which was a minor league baseball team that's owned by the New York Mets.
Okay.
Back in 2001, just won their second championship this year. Thankfully, I was there for their first. In Jacksonville, I been involved with a number of different exciting businesses. I came here with Westwood One Radio.
Okay.
I was doing sales and marketing nationally out of their New York office, and we wanted to create a life here in Jacksonville, so they moved me to help rebuild the Florida markets. And we would do the 10-second live read sponsorship by the traffic reporters embedded into radio programming. This report brought to you by Geico. And then a 10-second messaging. Some radio stations, some companies did 15 seconds. I actually merged with that company towards the end I was there. And then I moved on to 1010XL Sports Radio, where I was the director of sales and marketing, rebuilding the client base, focusing on advertising to men, and helped the station get the relationship to be the flagship station for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I've then really had some experiences with digital, where we launched a college football website called gridironnow.com, and that focused on SEC football, and then ran two different ad agencies, one in Houston, Texas. I traveled back and forth, digital marketing agency there, and then here locally in Jacksonville, where I was the vice president of client services of an agency, and then just launched out on my own this summer.
Nice, that's awesome. So let me guess, you're passionate when it comes about sports.
Yes, I am.
Okay, I can tell, because somehow your career is related to sports.
Lots of sports involved in my career.
Football, your favorite sport?
Baseball is my favorite sport.
Baseball.
I grew up a baseball fan in the Bronx with the New York Yankees. I was a Yankee season ticket holder for many years before moving to Jacksonville.
Nice.
World Series games, perfect games, opening day. Really had some great experience. And then working in baseball was my dream come true for 4 years. Working on the field with some of the heroes from the New York Mets and old Brooklyn Dodgers, and I just had one experience after the other.
So I'm Albanian originally. Then the first time I got introduced to baseball was my professor back home. We had an American professor, and he was trying to teach us American culture.
Okay.
So he was trying to teach us like the rules and how you play, and like we'd have the bat and we'd like play, and we thought we were awesome just for like hitting the ball. So like that was the first time. And then when I moved to America, I saw like how much bigger it is, and how, you know, because it is it's two different worlds. Back home we just have only soccer, pretty much.
Sure.
So it's very interesting. So how did you even get into marketing though? Like, were you always passionate about marketing, or were you always passionate about connecting with thousands of people?
I was, but didn't realize it.
Okay.
I was a political science major in college,
Okay.
but started to get involved in different activities on campus. I started creating different events, some of them with my fraternity at the time, and different charity events.
Okay.
And would always be part of publicizing them, creating the posters, trying to get attention to newspaper articles before and after. And my senior year, I decided that I really needed to change my major to communications. That was the major at the time. And I said, yeah, well, I'm so close. Let me just graduate. I'll have a degree. I can do whatever I want after I graduate, which really was not the case. So I struggled early on trying to find the right opportunity in New York. You would go to these different agencies to try to find a job and look at ads in the New York Times, and all they wanted was your typing skills and how fast you can type to be an admin role to get started. And eventually I got a job as a paralegal, more in line with my degree.
Yeah.
And then did a lot of volunteer work in sports and events to get the entry-level job with Chelsea Piers as they were starting up. But I did volunteer work with the National Hockey League, with the NBA, and the World Cup had the opening ceremonies at Giant Stadium at that point in '94 when it's here in the United States.
Okay.
So working with a lot of different sports events got me the opportunity to get a job really as an admin for the marketing department for this big complex that was being built.
So how would you say the marketing has changed since you very first started in the marketing world for
for the sports to today? Because I mean, we're talking about what, like, you said 1994.
I graduated college in 1991.
Okay.
So it's been a while.
It's been a minute.
I was part of creating two first websites. So when we started Chelsea Piers, and the first venue opened up in the fall of 1995, really was at that beginning of the public's use of the World Wide Web and companies just starting to get websites. So it's during the course of 95, we built that first website for Chelsea Piers, and I helped with the first website for the Brooklyn Cyclones in 2001. Even then it was a different world. So just how people use websites has definitely evolved and changed, and how people obviously use digital marketing, which didn't exist, and even go back 15 years ago, it didn't exist anywhere near what it does now. That's really people's attention spans are different, and how people focus on absorbing information is different. Everyone's looking at everything on their phone. Having worked for a company that used to sell and market Yellow Page advertising in the past, that was my digital marketing agency. Came from a Yellow Page book company. They don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So, and that was the only way people advertised for decades.
But now people don't even, like, I don't even know if Yellow Pages...
This past year, the books did come out in Jacksonville. I know they shut down, the one company shut down their office last year in Jacksonville, so I don't believe a new book will come out here again. But there are companies that still think that's the only way to advertise, because they really have been living with blinders on, unfortunately for them.
Well, would you say, though, it's because of the age group, too? Like, let's say if the company was built in the 1990s or early 2000s, where you used the Yellow Pages, that's how people got used to advertising. And then this generation gets a little bit older, and that's the only way how they're going to do advertising, because they're not going to be as tech savvy or anything. Is there maybe because they're trying to target the specific audience that they use Yellow Pages still?
Older owners definitely are set more in their ways of how to advertise, even though they might be looking at their phones themselves.
Yeah.
They see that they've received success over the years. They're afraid to move away from something, as opposed to knowing it's not working as well as it had. It's just that fear of, well, if I get rid of this, then no one's going to come. That's why the Yellow Pages lasted over the course of the last 5 years, trickling down. But in general, you always have to figure out who your target audience is. And my statement always is, you have to communicate with people the way they want to be communicated with. And that's how marketing works.
So how about the digital marketing? Because, like, before, like 10, 15 years ago, to be a digital marketer was not even a position. Nowadays, we have people that work as digital marketers, like from their home or from anywhere they are. Like, how have you seen this growth? Like, how important it is for a company to have their digital marketing?
Oh, it's tremendous. The evolution of websites, then came the evolution of how to get people to notice your website. So SEO developed in a strong way in creating people found this as a niche, and then learned more and more to become experts and then go into business or be hired by companies to be that SEO expert. There's a real role in making sure that everything is fine-tuned within the back end of a website to make sure people are finding you in search. Website design in general has changed, has gone from nothing to really intensive and expensive, and to bringing pricing down and simplicity down. Now most websites are just a scrolling page as opposed to 20, 30, 40 pages.
Yeah.
And you can do them yourself. Some, if you do it the right way, you can do it in simplest terms. If you do it on Wix, there are ways that you can do that so people don't realize it's a Wix site.
Yeah.
And people can easily get a template on WordPress and do it themselves. And
I use Wix,
very
so yeah.
simple websites on WordPress. Or you can still pay people, but the prices are nowhere near what they were, but you still need that quality, and you have to find the right website to get your message out. And I think that's one of the biggest things right now. Most people still, or most companies still, are creating digital brochures, and which is necessary, but is not really capturing their prospects the way they need to communicate with these prospects.
So you did mention, like, for example, before it used to be a lot of pages, and now it's just kind of like all in one page, kind of short and simple and less information. Would you say because people are losing their patience nowadays? Because, I mean, you literally have a phone in your hand. It's a computer in your hand. You can do everything. Is that why they're trying to make it shorter and to the point? Kind of like bullet points instead of giving a whole background story?
Similar to the bullet point concept, but just flowing the way the phone flows. So if you have your about page and different specifics on the work that you do, on the desktop you have links that you click to it, so one click here, one click there, and it flows differently. On the phone, you just want people scrolling and soaking in all that information. So based on how the website is built, it can give you multiple page views in the process if you're looking at it on the Google Analytics side. I know at Gridiron now, when we switched to a site that would scroll more, it was very important to us that once you scroll from one story to the next, it did another page count, because we were all about page counts on how advertisers looked at us and actually how we paid the writers on people who go into their stories. But it's important that these websites evolve with how people, again, are absorbing them.
Correct.
But also you want to make sure that you're providing your best foot forward every time that your company is being looked at online.
But what is the biggest mistake that you'd say companies make when it comes to today's advertising and marketing for their own products or services?
They don't understand that 9 times out of 10, people aren't shopping right now for what you're selling. They're researching. They're investing their time to figure out what is the best answers. There are times when that's different. If you are at home and a pipe bursts in your sink, you're looking to find a plumber right now. But those urgencies, if you're trying to find daycare for your child, or a doctor, or a roofer to fix the roof in your house that's coming up in 20 years, you're not calling them right then and there. You're doing research, trying to figure out who seems the best. And most websites are not providing the right information to people to make sure that they stay on their radar when it actually comes time for that decision. And you're not a prospect in that on just because you clicked on someone's website, you're not a prospect to them. You're just a click. They need to figure out better ways, and there are better ways to do that, to make sure that click is a prospect, that there's a conversation going on a regular basis. So when that decision is time to pick the doctor, make the fix the roof, that they're in the ball game in the decision making, as opposed to, yeah, maybe I clicked on that site, but I didn't like the way something looked, and that was the end of it.
So how do you get those technically those clicks, generate them and get them to the door? Is it by the subscription, like the pop-ups that come up on the website to subscribe, or how do you collect that information?
Well, you can't just have a listing to subscribe, because it's a dime a dozen of these websites that have free consultation if you type in your name.
Yeah.
No one cares about the free consultation. They expect it. They're going to walk in, they expect a free consultation. You need to provide them with value to put their name in your information box. So a roofer, top 5 reasons why this shingle is the most important way to protect your roof, or cleaning tips to make sure that your roof is lasting longer. There's value to that. So they'll get that information from giving their name and address, and now you have an email address, and now you can create a drip campaign and continually share information with them. You got to find the right pace that so you're not harassing them on a regular basis so they come off your list. But now you have a communication line going with them, as opposed to they just clicked on your website and moved on to the next one.
So what would you advise, because you've been a part of businesses launching, what would you advise? Let's say I'm building X business and I'm trying to get the marketing out. What would be the best techniques with today's digital world and today's e-commerce? Like, what would be the best way I can market my product?
It starts with the website, and you have to look at the website as people used to look at newspapers. You have to have a headline.
Okay.
You have to have something that speaks to the audience. Again, communicating with people the way they want to be communicated with. You have to have some presence on social media and be creative with it. And with that is, you don't have to have Twitter because not everyone is really following Twitter. I think Facebook is important as a presence because people are going to look to see if you have it or not.
Mm-hmm.
People may go to your Facebook. I love when I go to a company's Facebook page. They set it up in December of 2015. They put up 5 pictures. They've come back twice, and there's nothing on that page whatsoever. You have to have some consistency, although knowing that people may not be seeing it on a regular basis, but it's there when they look for it, because there's the algorithms that only 7% of who's likes your page is going to see your postings on a regular basis. So it's unless you create different ways to get creative and communicate with them, then there's not going to have that interactivity. Video is really the way to go,
mm-hmm.
And you have to be creative with it. You have to have the right personality for it as well. Having something, whether it's a visual slideshow that's put on, so you're not. Some people just can't express themselves in the same ways.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are they're perfect with video and communicating their personalities. My favorites is there's a dentist, I believe it was in Texas, that and there's a lot of people that do this. They got their patients to participate in this campaign, so they would pick once a week. They'd
mm-hmm.
pick a song and they'd lip sync. And so the patient would be sitting in the chair, and you have the dentist with the tools in the mouth, and you have a nurse and you have assistants there, and then all of a sudden the song will go on, and they'll just burst into some sort of performance. And they'll take it and they'll put it on their website, they'll put it onto YouTube, they'll put it onto their Facebook page, and people will like and share it, and they got a lot of traction. From that, they got more patients.
Yeah.
And they had happy patients who really enjoying the experience of being with that dentist. So finding creative ways to use video within a marketing campaign is very important, and then really it's nurturing relationships so that information can go viral.
So definitely thinking outside of the box too. Like, I haven't heard the example with the dentist. I know this one dentist got very famous when they're doing the whole Kiki challenge. He just started dancing around, and he got a lot of traffic on his clinic just because of doing a dance.
You have a dermatologist who realized the strength of YouTube and got people to sign waivers and would videotape the pimple popping and the removal of cysts and all the.
Is it Dr. Pimple that you're?
Dr. Pimple Popper.
Yes.
Lo and behold, from her just being, whether it was her idea or she hired someone who suggested it, she got a show on cable TV. From again extending the relationship with the clients, but everything was focused on YouTube, and obviously that created revenues for her by bringing in new patients.
Mm-hmm.
Because she had so much of a large viewership, she was able to sell advertising on YouTube, was making dollars or cents for every click that people watched it, and obviously a nice contract on a TV network.
That's awesome. I've heard of her. I've seen like 1 or 2 of her videos. My friend loves her. She'd be like, if you have any issues, I got you, Dr. Pimple. Like, I've seen her videos.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever it comes to social media posting, though, would you say it would be the best idea to like put a calendar to place? Like, for example, national holidays, like you post a picture, like this picture ahead of time, or like Tuesdays you post this, Fridays you post this.
It's imperative. If you're going to have a campaign that people are going to care about,
Mm-hmm.
you need to have that consistency. So with Facebook, you're not really posting a lot over the course of a day.
Yeah.
But if you have a visual company, Facebook's important too. There's a calendar of like today is the anniversary of the day they signed the Constitution.
Okay.
I think something about pepperoni pizza I saw a couple days ago, and there's all these different days. National Ice Cream Day, and taking advantage of those makes it easier to create social media posts, but also looking at other sites like Instagram. If you're a bakery, you want to be taking pictures of your cakes on an hourly basis and putting them up and having fun with it as well, so that something visual can get shared and your exposure can grow from that.
So we did focus on marketing. Something that I want to focus a little bit more is converting all this leads to actual sales, which is very important for the business, because
Yes.
That's why they're doing all this job. So we talked a little bit earlier. You were familiar with CRMs, of course, and you did show me a CRM that you used to work with. What would you say it's the pros and the cons of having a CRM customized just to your business alone?
Let's take a step back. The key is being organized.
Okay.
You have to be organized. You have to have a rhythm of how you're connecting with people. You have to have an understanding that people aren't going to respond just because you picked up the phone. And also have an understanding that just because you picked up the phone and they didn't respond, that doesn't mean no. It's no when someone tells you no. So where years ago, people would call 2-3 times, and no, I didn't hear from them, and then let it go. You need to reach out to people 5 to 12 times, depending on who they are. It's a lot of touches, because if you get them the right way, again, communicating people they want to be the way they want to be communicated with, and reach them. You can reach them on a 10th time. They're ready to make have that conversation with you. They may have had so many different things going on that they need to get through, and you call them in August where they're ready, where the first conversation attempt was in February and they wouldn't have been ready. But if you didn't call that many times, you never would have made that phone call in August. So it's having that and finding the right way to track it, getting back to the CRM. My CRM story, as I shared before with you, is strange, based on the kind of companies that I worked for and where their priorities were. Minor league baseball team, it was with the Excel spreadsheet. With Westwood One Radio and their Metro Traffic division, they were developing their own CRM, so they had us, okay, just track it by yourselves and deal with your managers, and then it's going to be ready, we're going to test it, and then they started testing it, and it was almost ready, and then they sold the company, and that was the end of the CRM. So it was a lost 5 years and 7 years with the business. I recently used one called Pipedrive, which I was very happy with because it really was visual, and you can click and slide the prospect category to category as they're moving along while you're going in and tracking the individual attempts to reach them or conversations with them, and then setting up a new date so it shows up on your calendar, and here's your alert list for Tuesday of who you need to call, and so on and so forth. So you are tracking the pace that you need to with them. You're separating it out as you should, but also you can go back and look at every type of not only just you, but the manager can look back to see how you're communicating, and then this also generates the reports to show what's in pending and how fast things are moving out of pending and what's just sitting there in pending, and hopefully the closing numbers so that you're generating sales and measuring the pace that the individual salesperson and the company needs to be at.
So CRM is very important for sales, like we said. I've used Salesforce so far.
Okay.
I haven't used Pipeline. And I would say from what my experience Salesforce, it's a great system, but I feel like there's other systems out there that can do much better. Like another CRM that I used when I worked car sales, it just kind of tracked everything much better. But one thing that I've seen, especially working corporate life, is that the company invests so much money on marketing, millions, and the company invests on recruiting, on hiring these people, and invest on employees. But whenever it comes to like the stats that they get from Salesforce, they would be like, okay, this is what you need to do. I don't, and you can correct me. What I'm trying to go to is that, well, how do you handle that training salespeople and the right way to communicate with people and close that deal? Because that's very important, but
Sure.
a lot of times gets skipped a lot.
I think it gets rushed. I think that you have an opening and you have a timeline because the clock of the budget starts on January 1 if you're dealing with the 12-month calendar
Correct.
budget schedule. So the time that you do not have someone in that sales position is time that you're not hitting that numbers for at the very least that budget line for that individual. So a lot of times you'll bring in salespeople, you'll interview them, they talk about the experience they've had, you'll check their references, and they'll go in but they don't understand fully your systems. With Metro Traffic, what ended up happening was that Clear Channel at the time bought Metro Traffic from Westwood One and merged it with Total Traffic. And after most of the year, they decided to let go of most of the Metro Traffic staff and keep the Total Traffic staff, depending on what kind of market, and they blended different staffs together. 6 months later, 3 to 6 months later, many people from Metro drivers started getting phone calls from the management because the tow traffic staff people didn't know how to use the Metro traffic system, and sales weren't happening, and there were all these challenges they wanted to bring back to people that knew the system. But unfortunately, they burnt the bridges with all these people.
Yeah.
So it caused a problem with that budget year specifically, and then it took them a couple of years to really ramp up from that. The way you communicate with prospects, the way they want to be communicated with, you have to do the same thing with your salespeople. You have to get to know them and create the relationship and spend the right time with them so that they are absorbing the information and continually hold their hand. Sometimes it's really tight, and sometimes it's softer, and sometimes it's a handshake here and there. But you want to keep a pulse on them, not just in the reporting that you have on a regular basis, because you can see the reports every day, but going on calls with them, sitting in a room and listening to the phone calls that they're having, so that the message of the company is loud and clear throughout the process. They're an agent of the company at that point. They have the opportunity to sign a contract just like the general manager does, and you have to know as a company that you have the right communicator manning that type of power.
Yeah, I mean, they are the face of the company at that point. Like, you have
to that individual prospect / potential client.
Correct. Would you recommend to maybe have a team of 10 salespeople? They are okay at their job, or would you say I want to cut this in half, have 5 people, 5 sales agents, and like be amazing and on point?
A lot of it depends on what you're doing. There's a gentleman whose name's escaping me. He wrote a book called Selling Ice to the Eskimos. He's an executive in sports, and his belief was you hire as many salespeople as possible. Again, you're doing it at a very, very small base at that, if at all, on the lots on commission, and they're going to show their worth within their abilities, but you're really getting a larger net out there to bring in more prospects into clients. Sometimes you really need the top-notch people, and it's a tight group of 5 that they're out there, depending on how many calls they have to make to really reach the audience you're looking for. It depends company by company what's the best strategy.
I see. Yeah, because sometimes I feel like you might have like a lot of salespeople, but you're burning leads, when somebody else, if you train them correctly, that can turn those leads into sales. And it takes just that 1 hour, 2 hour additional training to get that person to the next level.
It's always going to be a problem because there are people who may not be ready in 2017 to receive the phone call, but in 2019 they are. My always concern was, as staffs turned over, I wanted as much information as possible. I wanted to make sure I would look back. So if I decided to make a phone call to this company, I wanted better understanding of what happened 2 years ago when someone tried calling on them. Was it a no?